How much you spend is the most important factor when it comes to your financial well-being. Like, it doesn't matter how much you earn. If you have a 75% savings rate, you can reach financial freedom in 7.1 years. And I know because I've had a 75% savings rate and I was able to leave my day job at 24. Now, the average American spends about $77,000 per year or $6,400 a month. And if you do spend that much for 40 years, that'll be about $3 million that'll pass through your hands. So most people are literally going through millions and have nothing to show for it. So today we're breaking down how much Americans spend at every age, what you should be aiming for if you want to reach freedom before you're in your 60s, and some small actionable steps that can help you get there. I'll leave timestamps down below if you want to skip ahead to your age, but I think this is all really interesting. Now, before we get into all of these, I want to talk about a compound interest calculator that really changed my mindset. So this kind of breaks down why it doesn't matter how much you earn. Let's say you earn $50,000 a year. You have a 15% savings rate, so you're taking that 15%, you're investing it. You will be able to retire in 42 years. This is why everybody retires at 60, because they don't really save any money. This is just the basic math. So if you're in your 20s, you have like a 0% savings rate or 1% savings rate, you'll never retire 100 years from now. But if you can bump that up to, let's say, a 40% savings rate, now we're down to 21 years. And the reason why this maths is because you will have enough money that your money can make more money indefinitely. Like if you have, let's say, $100,000 and that earns 8%, that $100,000 can make $8,000 a year indefinitely. So you just need enough money that you can live off of that forever. So if you get up to a 75% savings rate, which I had in my early 20s, you can have freedom in 7.1 years, and you can actually do it in like 3 years if you use this other wealth calculator, which calculates your monthly active income, like your day job, and your scalable income, which would be a side hustle that doesn't take as much time, or real estate, anything that produces monthly cash flow. And if you can get that, let's say your expenses are, $4,000 a month, and after 3 to 5 years, you build up a side stream of income that makes $4,000 a month, you can pretty much leave your job and you'll be financially free. So that's one way to not have to save up, $1 million. You can just do that by building a stream of income that makes a couple $1,000s a month. You're pretty much at freedom. These are the two things that I'm basing this entire video on. So if you want to have freedom quickly, you either need to build up a large amount of money, and that's why the savings rate's important, or you need to start a scalable side business or buy assets that produce cash flow, like real estate or something like that. And that's how you would gain freedom a lot faster. I'll leave a link to the calculator down below. The second one I kind of built myself, and it's really like good for you to kind of go through your own expenses and income and side income and see how close you are to freedom. All right, so let's start with your 20s. This is by far the most important time because it's where a lot of people screw up, but also where you have the most time for your money to make more money. You have the least amount of baggage, the most amount of energy. Really good time. If you're under 25, the average American spends $49,000 per year or $4,130 per month, which doesn't sound that bad until you realize that those same people under 25 earn between $35,000 and $45,000 a year. So they're spending more than they make, literally making it impossible for them to get close to freedom. Now, the biggest spending category for most people, and this is relatively consistent throughout most of your life, is housing. Going to be about 33% of that budget. So that's your biggest expense. Then you're going to have transportation at around 17% and food at around 13%. And the thing is, you can, and I know because I have, cut all three of those significantly. And that's where you can gain, that 20% savings rate right off the bat, or 30% or 50% from really taking the biggest, most impactful things. Forget about the lattes and all that. Look at where you're spending a third of your money and start with that. What I did differently here was house hacking, which was saving up for 4 years, buying a multifamily with a 3.5% down loan, living in one unit, renting the other ones out, allowing me to cut my housing expense to zero and actually make a profit to live somewhere. And then instantly I got a 33% savings rate. I also bought like older cars in cash, like a $5,000 Honda Civic. Then my transportation goes from 17 down to like, 4 or 5%, even though I wasn't even making the median income. Then we didn't really eat out. We cooked at home, and that cut our food budget by a lot. So just those three can take somebody in their 20s to a 40 to 50% savings rate, which just doing this without even earning more money or anything would get them to freedom in 19 years. So by the time they're like 45, kind of crazy. This is also one of the reasons I'm not a huge fan of college, unless your goalposts are not to retire as soon as possible or have financial freedom as soon as possible. Because if you take 4 years of your life and lose money, you pay a significant amount of money, tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars, which can be a great thing. then you're guaranteed, at least for those 4 years, to not have financial freedom. And like we just talked about, I was cleaning office buildings, earning like no money, and I was able to save up enough to get rid of my housing expense for the rest of my life during those same 4 years. So not only are you not earning as much as you could be, not taking that time to get real world opportunities, starting a bunch of businesses, which is kind of my thing. No, it's not for everybody, but real world experience at real companies and getting paid to do that, you're actually paying money. And that can be a huge trap for a lot of people. Some people use their degree and it works out great, but actually a large amount of people do not use their degree and it ends up being a waste of 4 years of their lives and tens of thousands of dollars.
The Burning Glass Institute finds 10 years after finishing school, 45% of bachelor's degree holders were underemployed. That means they held a job that doesn't typically require a college degree.
So before we jump into the 30s where money really starts to get serious, I want to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Monarch Money. Monarch Money is a all-in-one financial dashboard where you can connect over 13,000 institutions and track your full financial life in one place. It even monitors your credit score with smart alerts, gives you powerful custom reports, and allows you to collaborate with your partner or financial advisor hassle-free. And I love that it's not just a budgeting tool, it is everything in one clean, simple app. You can track all your accounts, transactions, and investments. You can even add assets like your car or your home. And it does it all without ads, without credit card offers, or any hidden fees or anything like that. Just a powerful app for the price of 2 cups of coffee a month. It's also incredibly highly rated with 4.9 stars with over 60,000 reviews. And it's been recognized as one of NBC's top fintech companies. Most importantly, your data is fully encrypted, it's never sold, and Monarch cannot move money in or out of your accounts. You can use Monarch Money today and get 50% off your first year with an annual subscription. Just use the code GABEBOLT and click the link down in the description. Next up, we have the 30s, and this is where things get expensive. If you're 25 to 34, you're spending around $72,000 a year, and we're up to $91,000. That is almost double what people in their 20s spend. And it makes sense because you get a bigger house, you get a car, you get a second car, you finally start making more money, and therefore you spend more money. But the problem is, if you're looking at that savings rate, the more you're spending, doesn't matter how much you earn, if your spending is matching that, you're no closer to freedom. And if freedom is your goal, then you cannot be spending this amount of money. Because even if we look at the other calculator, if you need $3,000 a month, then you only need to buy assets that pay you $3,000 a month. If you spend $8,000 a month, it's gonna take you twice as long minimum to build up those streams of income. That could add easily like 10 years to your working life. So how much you spend matters so much. And so this is why this is always the first thing you should look at. If your goal is to reach freedom, look at how much you're spending before anything else and focus on that first, because it makes all of your goals come a lot faster. All right, so let's look at our 40s. People from 45 to 54 are in their peak spending years, $97,000 a year. That's $8,000 every month. Now the average net worth at this point does jump up to $247,000. But if you're spending $97,000 a year, then you could only survive about 2.5 years off of the average net worth, which means people are not close to freedom in the slightest at this point, and they're coming up on retirement. Now this is when you are in your peak earning years. This is when you should be building the most wealth. You should have the most opportunities. You should be seeing real progress. But again, because that creep is coming up, a lot of people don't see that. Now, this is where the college trap actually kind of comes back, because a lot of times at this point, because they're earning more money, parents sometimes feel responsible to pay for their kids to go to college, taking 4 years of not earning money, and then probably the next 5 to 10 years to pay back that money. So they're really taking probably 10 years of their life to get to zero, which, you know, like you could work at McDonald's and be at zero. I don't know. I just have like some people that I know that are in their 40s still paying off college, and it just seems really stupid to do that. But to each their own. But this is where things get expensive. You have adult kids, you spend more on Christmas, you travel more, you do all of this stuff. And this is where you can keep, again, bumping yourself further from freedom. Now in your 50s, this is where I call it kind of the missed opportunity. Spending actually drops in your 50s to about $83,000 per year, and net worth goes up to about $364,000. A lot of times the spending will go down because the kids are out of the house. I know when I moved out of the house, my parents were very grateful because the amount of food that I eat, and then I realized like how much it costs just to like be alive. But this should give you in your 50s this great opportunity where you still have strong income, your expenses naturally go down, and you have extra money to start really focusing on retirement. The problem is you don't get to take advantage of compound interest. If you invest $10,000 when you're 20 versus 30 versus 40 versus 50, the amount you have at the end isn't even comparable. This is really a time where you do have a lot of opportunity. You have that freedom, you have lower expenses, you still have that. So if you can find the energy and the excitement to, maybe move down to a smaller house, really focus on getting your expenses under control, this can be a huge wealth building time. But then we move into our 60s. People 65 and older spend around $60,000 per year. And this makes sense because now they're not going to work, they're not commuting. It's finally settled in that like, I'm gonna stop earning money here and I can't keep spending the same way. And so people are actually forced into saving money for sometimes the first time. And the average net worth from 65 to 74 is $410,000. Again, which if we calculate that $60,000 a year, it's not great. But for some people, this can be doable if you have, very low expenses. But when medical things start kicking in, you generally are gonna need a lot more than what most people have. And so this is where it goes back to your 20s being so important. If you bought a rental at 22, like I did, instead of going to college, by the time I'm 52, that rental is paid off and my cash flow goes up, or I have a rental worth a decent amount of money that I could sell. And the same thing is true with stocks. If you invest it when you're 20, it can be worth so much at the end, but people wait so long to start investing that they don't get to take advantage of those things that you have a golden opportunity for in your 20s and 30s, even if you're not trying to reach freedom at an early age. And so the real action steps here are really true with every single age. If you're spending $2,000 a month on rent, can you get that down to $1,200 by house hacking or renting out a room or moving to a different city or state? If you're spending $600 a month on a car, can you save up for a while and get a reliable car that you pay cash for? If you're spending $800 a month on food, can you start doing meal prepping and get that down to $500 a month? Just doing those can make you $1,500 a year, which if you invest can get you to freedom in like 10 years. Again, depending on how much you're spending. I know so many people who have reached freedom in their 20s and 30s by doing this exact thing. I've done it myself, and it's just really about ignoring what everybody else is doing. And it's really just about focusing on those three main things, making sure your lifestyle doesn't inflate, and then either investing a lot or building streams of income. And for most people, if you just do those things consistently for like 10 years, you'll either be at freedom or at least your life won't be recognizable from everybody around you. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week.